of them. One right here.
Oh yeah.
And one over there in the sun.
And
several down there.
right here?
Two of them.
There's one over there.
Turn red, that means they're about to die. Yeah. There's a bunch all the way down the stream.
Pretty good size.
Yeah.
They come up into very shallow water.
Yeah.
They're almost at the end of their trip.
Three of them there now.
Because they like places that are shallow with running water.
Yeah. I hadn't seen it till you pointed out. See the turtle, Karen? On the log down there, right in the middle of the stream?
Oh yeah, I saw him. I didn't realize that's what it was till you said that. See the turtle?
Coming down there. There's a little glacier up there. Get away from them trees. It's getting way out. You better bring that back.
actually show them as Tongass National Forest.
This one, I have two cameras. This one works. It's the other one that
It'll show those addresses. If you look on Google, it'll show those addresses, Tongass National Forest. Pretty much all of southeast Alaska is encompassed by the Tongass National Forest. And there's just small areas of,
Oh yeah, that you'll have to sacrifice.
non-forest land, whether it be the city of Juneau, the city of Ketchikan. There's also some state forest land, but pretty much if you were to look at a map and just kind of see what southeast Alaska looks like, it's roughly the size of the panhandle of Florida, and it's all, I'd say probably about 90% the national forest. We are not an island here, but I'd mentioned before the only way in and out of town is by boat or by plane. If you were to go up and climb on top of the Mendenhall Glacier, you would be on the Juneau ice field. The ice field's about 1,500 square miles, roughly the size of Rhode Island. And if you were to traverse the Juneau ice field, then you would actually be in British Columbia, Canada. But that's basically what separates us from Canada. So having water on 3 sides and then having the ice field on the 4th side is why, for all practical purposes, we're an island. So we've left the Forest Service land proper, but here in just a minute, on the right-hand side, we'll have the Forest Service headquarters. Weird thing when I first learned, when I first moved to Alaska, I was living down in Ketchikan, and the Forest Service headquarters there is right on the Tongass Narrows, and they actually had more boats in their parking lot than trucks. You know, you always think of the forest, and it's like, oh, they have like firefighting equipment and trucks and stuff like that. But because a lot of the Tongass National Forest is actually water, they do have a lot of boats. So that's the Forest Service headquarters. Also, the National Weather Service has a office and station back there. This area is called Back Loop. Basically what it does, it just makes a loop around from where we came up before off the main highway, and it's going to go around Auk Lake. And from Auk Lake, that's the campus, right down the banks of Auk Lake is the campus of University of Alaska, southeast. We have three main campuses for our Alaskan university system. We have Fairbanks, Anchorage, and then southeast. Anchorage and Fairbanks are obviously, well, sort of obviously in Fairbanks and Anchorage, respectively. Here at the University of Alaska Southeast, we actually do have some stuff from University of Alaska Fairbanks, which is kind of confusing to people, and they say, oh, I go to UAF, and they think it's just UAS and you have like a speech impediment, but no, UAF is actually here with this part of their school, their marine biology program. And that's the Mendenhall River, which was fed off the Mendenhall Lake, and then flows out into the Mendenhall wetlands through the Mendenhall Valley, right past Mendenhall Auto Group. A lot of things here named Mendenhall. There's also, if you go up in the Yukon Territory, the road to Whitehorse on it's out of Haines, so it's about 60 to 80 miles. Well, this section is called the Mendenhall subdivision, and it's actually in Yukon Territory. So there's a lot of stuff named Mendenhall throughout the area, either directly because of the glacier or the person. I believe Mendenhall was a surveyor, so he got the glacier named after him and a whole bunch of other stuff, either directly or indirectly. A lot of things throughout both Southeast Alaska and British Columbia, as well as Yukon Territory, are named after surveyors. I guess they figured if they could lug all that gear to the top of a frozen mountain, they should get their name on it. So Lemon Glacier before that was named after a surveyor named Lemon. There's a lot of stuff called Ogilvy. He was another surveyor back in the late 1800s throughout both Alaska, northern BC, and Yukon Territory. This road over here, it says Mendenhall Lake. This is access to the west side of the lake. We were on the east side. This is the west side access, and there's a Forest Service campground there, both tent sites and RV sites that you can get to pretty cheap. So a lot of recreation possibilities here in Southeast Alaska. No, I'm not the city bus. Sorry, folks. So there's a lot of recreation possibilities here. The Forest Service has a bunch of cabins, which reservation fee I think is $20. You can stay there up to like 4 nights, and most of them are anywhere between a 3 and 10 mile hike to the cabin. What's nice about the Forest Service cabins is they have propane heaters, and the Forest Service does provide the propane. Once a year they fly in one of those big, I don't know if it's 500 or 1,000 gallon propane tank with a helicopter. Like I said, most of them are accessible by hikes, but there's also other ones that are only accessible by float plane or by boat on some of the remote islands or on over by Taku Glacier. There's one up there, Taku, that I've always wanted to go to, but I don't have a float plane or a boat. So I'm stick to the hike 2 ones. State Forest also runs cabins here. They're a little more expensive and they're not quite as nice. Not that these cabins are anything fancy, you know, the beds are just plywood on 2x4s. They have like a little counter space, but there's no sink or anything because there's no running water. But the State Forest ones have kerosene heat, which kind of stinks because that means you have to haul in your own kerosene. And they're also more expensive and they're not as nice. So the National Forest cabins are really, really sweet. Great way to spend a couple days outdoors without... In a rainforest, like camping in a tent is okay, but chances are you're going to get rained on really good once or twice, so it's nice to have a cabin at least for like a little base if you want to do some real remote backcountry stuff. And as we're coming around here, we're going to start seeing Hawk Lake off to our left, and also coming into the campus area. And then on the far side of the lake is we'll be back at the main highway, and that's where Hawk Bay is, which is where we're going. Here at University of Alaska Southeast, they used to be a community college. I believe it was the Douglas Diesel College, and so they do have like 2-year degrees in like marine diesel technology. But then they also have a nursing program that's affiliated with, I believe, University of Washington. They also have, you know, standard business degrees and, you know, political science, liberal arts kind of stuff. But they have some really cool classes, which they have things in like glacier trekking and kayak guiding. Unfortunately, I did not know about this until much later in life. You know, I listened to my guidance counselor when I was a kid, and I went to an engineering school, and now I drive a bus, so obviously that doesn't work out so well for me. But like, I didn't know you could take classes in like outdoor recreation. Even our emergency management director here in Juneau, he's got a cool job. In the wintertime, he gets to shoot a cannon at the mountains for avalanche abatement, you know. So, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of my guidance counselor. Most of the campus is over on our left. You really can't see much from here, but also they have some student housing and a rec center here over on the right. Now we're coming down into Hawk Bay, and we'll be hanging a right. It'll be about 5 more minutes to Allen Marine. Alright, so a cool thing coming up over here. Not really cool, but actually it's the exact opposite of cool. But so there's a laundromat. I know. Aren't you glad you came to Alaska? I'm going to show you a laundromat. Worst tour ever. No, but what's cool about it is you'll see it's the last sign on this building on the right, and it says laundromat, and then below it says showers. And you're like, well, that's kind of odd. Well, that's because it's right across the bay, or across from the bay. In Southeast Alaska, we don't have truck stops because the longest roads in Southeast Alaska are 40 miles long. So if you drive a truck, you're home every night. No need for a truck stop. But we have a lot of fishermen and, you know, other people who go out on boats. So essentially, the laundromat is kind of the Southeast Alaska equivalent of a truck stop down south. So anytime you're near a small boat harbor, you're going to see a laundromat that has shower facilities. Everything where we're going, it's Allen Marine's facility. They built it. It's called a BEMA. I have no idea what BEMA means. I keep asking. No one tells me. So if someone finds out, that'd be awesome. But what I've heard is that it's built on an old barge that was used for a gold dredging operation, I believe, up in Nome. So they built their facility. It's a floating barge that will be going down on floating dock. So they built that. They also built all the boats. Cool thing about their boats, they're kind of famous. You might have remembered when Captain Sullenberger landed the plane in the Hudson River.
Yeah.
Those 2 boats from the New York Waterway Ferry, which is very scenic, by the way. New York Waterway Ferry, ports of call Hoboken and Weehawken, New Jersey. So next vacation, check it out. No, but those boats, those were built by Allen Marine. those were the Yogi Berra class. So obviously named after Yogi Berra, LaGuardia, Verrazano, Frank Sinatra, and Father Michael Judge. But the Almarine boats they use up here are not named after prominent Italian Americans from North Jersey and New York. That would make no sense. What most of the boats that they use here are named after are Russian Orthodox saints. Almarine, their headquarters, their boat yard is in Sitka. I'd mentioned before that was the Russian capital. And not only did the Russian have a big political influence on Sitka, but they also had a big religious influence on Sitka. The centerpiece of Sitka is St. Michael's Cathedral. So most of these boats, of course last week I dropped someone off and they were on the Baranov Dream, which I felt like an idiot. But most of these boats are named after prominent Russian Orthodox saints. And I felt kind of weird the first time I saw some of them because I know Saint Herman and Saint Nicholas, and I was like Saint Yakov. I thought it was a bad joke. I was like, I thought that's like Branson, but no, there is a Saint Yakov, and Aquilina was another one that's new to me. Because I was raised in the Russian Orthodox Church, so I thought I knew a lot. There's Saint Yakov right in front of us. I wasn't making that up. So when we get here, just give me a second, we'll put the stool out because it is a big step down. And then just follow the directions of the crew once we get off, and you'll be going straight to your boat. It looks like you will be going to the Yakov.